The Woman Who Wore the White Duster, a true Philippine horror story. She was sitting very still. She was not my mother. We always came in summer, when the heat in the city grew so thick you could press your thumb against it, back to my grandparents' house deep in the province of Cebu. Every year, the same long road narrowing into the same green corridor of banana trees, the same rusted gate groaning open. At the end of the path, the same enormous house loomed, rising out of the dimness like something that had been there all along, patiently waiting for someone to return. It was the kind of house that had seen too many years. The wood of its walls had deepened with age to the dull, dried hue of old blood, and the ceiling soared so high that shadows pooled in their rafters and lingered there, reluctant to depart even beneath the blunt light of midday. As a child, I used to think the house was watching us arrive. I had learned over the years not to say this aloud. This summer, it would be only our family. My aunts and uncles and cousins had scattered to other vacations, other shores. I packed my bag with the particular excitement of a child who does not yet understand that some silences are different from others, that a house full of people and a house that is nearly empty are not the same place at all. We arrived just as the sun gave up. The sky held onto a thin bruise of violet at the horizon, but by the time we stepped through the gate, the lamps were already burning inside, throwing amber light through the old Capiz windows. My Lolo and Lola received us at the door, carrying with them the mingled scents of wood smoke, dried fish, and something older still, something I had no name for. And for a fleeting moment, the world settled into the quiet, uneasy familiarity of how it had always been. Dinner was fresh sinugba, grilled fish, still fragrant with the sea, and a pot of utan thick with vegetables pulled that morning from the garden. We ate and talked and laughed too loudly, the way families do when they are pretending that a large old house is not large and old. And afterward, we moved to the living room with its dark wooden furniture and the faded portrait of a great-great-grandmother whose name no one could quite remember. Then, without warning, the lights died, snuffed out as if some unseen hand had closed slowly over the house, leaving us to the dark. They did not flicker, they simply stopped. One moment the room was warm and known. The next, we were sitting in darkness so complete it pressed against my eyes like cloth. My Lola did not seem afraid. She moved through the dark the way she moved through everything, with the unhurried calm of a woman who had made peace with the world long ago, and found her candles and the old oil lamp in their customary places. She lit them without a word. The house changed. I do not mean this metaphorically. With the electric light gone and only the candles burning, the living room became a different room entirely. The shadows retreated from the ceiling only to reappear along the walls, stretching and shifting with every small movement of the flames. The Capiz windows, which my Lola opened slightly to let in the night air, trembled in their frames. Outside, the rain had begun. Not the gentle provincial rain I loved, but something heavier and more purposeful, drumming against the corrugated roof with a sound like distant applause. The wind came with it. It moved through the open windows and made the candle flames bow and shiver, and with each bow the shadows on the wall lunged toward us and pulled back. My parents and grandparents drifted away one by one. My father and Lolo to bed. I could hear them snoring almost immediately, two separate rhythms from down the hall. My mother and Lola to the kitchen to make hot chocolate, their voices low and comfortable behind the closed door. That left only my older sister and me in the living room, surrounded by the trembling light of candles and the relentless drumming of rain against the windows. Her voice cut through the shadows as she began to tell ghost stories, each word crawling along the walls like something alive. I begged her to stop. I told her the house was already frightening enough, that the shadows were already doing things I didn't like, that I could already hear, or imagined I could hear, something moving in the space above the ceiling where the old house breathed and settled. She laughed at me. Then she saw my face and stopped laughing and told me she'd go help with the hot chocolate instead. And dinner was along. I pulled out my phone and turned it to its brightest setting and focused very carefully on the game I was playing. Something simple, something that required all my attention. And I did not look at the windows. I did not look at the portrait on the wall. I did not look at the corner where the oil lamp's light did not quite reach. I was nearly at the end of a level when I saw her. She was sitting on the edge of the sofa across from me, my mother. She was wearing the white duster she'd changed into after dinner, the plain one, not the floral one she sometimes wore to bed. She was sitting very still, with her hands folded in her lap, and she was staring at the window. Not at anything outside the window, at the window itself, at the dark glass and the rain moving across it, just staring. I spoke to her. Ma, ano na ang chocolate? Is the chocolate ready? She did not answer. I looked back at my game. People sometimes became lost in thought. My mother was no different. The rain was loud. Perhaps she hadn't heard me, but something made me look up again. She was still there, still staring. The candle on the end table nearest to her threw its light up across her from below, and the shadows on her face were wrong, pooling in places they shouldn't pool, turning her features into a landscape I didn't quite recognize. Her hands were very still in her lap. Her shoulders were very straight. She did not breathe in the way that people breathe, that constant small movement of the chest, that alive, unconscious rise and fall. She was perfectly, completely still. I told myself she was tired. I told myself the light was strange. I looked back at my phone and discovered I had forgotten what game I was playing. I did not look up again. I cannot say how long I remained there, eyes locked on the pale glow of the phone screen, yet seeing nothing at all. Outside, the rain pelted the roof like nails, the candles quivered in their holders, and the woman in white lingered at the edge of the sofa 6 feet away, silent, motionless, watching the window with a stillness that felt impossible, as if she had no need to breathe at all. Then the kitchen door opened. My mother came out carrying a mug of hot chocolate, and the warmth of the kitchen came with her, and the smell of cacao, and the sound of my sister's voice behind her still talking about something. She set the mug in my hands. She smiled at me. She was wearing her floral duster, the blue one with the small printed flowers, the one she always wore to sleep. I turned to look at the sofa. It was empty. The cushions were undisturbed. The candle on the end table burned without any particular disturbance. There was no impression in the fabric where someone had been sitting, no warmth I could point to. There was only the sofa and the shadows moving across it, and the sound of the rain. "Ma," I said. My voice came out differently than I expected, smaller. "Were you sitting out here just now, before you brought the chocolate?" She looked at me with the particular confusion of someone who has been asked a simple question that makes no sense. She told me she had been in the kitchen the entire time, from dinner until this moment. She and Lola and my sister, all 3 of them, together, the whole time. I looked at the sofa again. I looked at the window the woman had been watching, rain dark and streaked, the world beyond it swallowed entirely by the night. I thought about how still she had been, how her face had been half shadow, how I had spoken to her and she had not moved, not even to acknowledge that a sound had been made in the room. I thought about the way she had not breathed. A tremor ran through me, and the mug of chocolate clattered against my palms. My mother snatched it away with a swift motion, then turned her gaze on me. Her face shifted, sliding from confusion into something far older and quieter. The look of a woman who had grown up within these walls, in this province, who carries knowledge of unspeakable things, understood without a single word being spoken. She said my name once, softly, and then she said, "Hush." My Lola was already moving to the altar in the corner, the small one with the Santo Niño and the dried palm frond from last Palm Sunday, and lighting the candle there with the steadiness of long practice. She did not hurry. She did not look frightened. She looked, if anything, resigned, the way you look when something you have always half expected finally arrives. They made me sit between them on the sofa, the other sofa, the one that faced away from the window, and my grandmother took out her rosary, the old one with the wooden beads worn smooth by decades of prayer, and we bowed our heads and prayed. The rain drummed on, relentless. The candles hissed and bled their light into the shadows. Somewhere down the hall, my father and grandfather snored in oblivious, dreamless rhythms, sealed in a sleep that the dark could not touch. And we prayed, trembling, until my shivers eased and the cold that had seeped into the corners of the room began, imperceptibly, to withdraw. No one said what it was. No one offered an explanation. My mother and grandmother spoke only of the prayer, of the protection they were asking for, of the mercy they trusted would be given. But before my Lola returned her rosary to its place, she did one last thing. She rose, her movements slow and deliberate, and crossed the room to the window. With a soft, final click, she shut it, and the darkness outside seemed to lean closer, pressing against the glass. I have returned to that house countless times since then. I have sat in that living room bathed in daylight, drowned in electric light, surrounded by the clamour of a full family, and yet felt nothing amiss. The sofa is merely a sofa, the window merely a window. The shadows in the corners are only shadows. Or so it seems, until the house remembers you. But I have never once sat alone in that room after dark, and I have never asked my mother what she believes sat beside me that night, watching the darkness, motionless, draped in her face and her clothes while its presence lingered somewhere else entirely, because I have decided, with a quiet, unyielding certainty, that some truths are better left unspoken.